And although we have another resident who wishes to also speak on this item, between the two of you, you have up to 12 minutes. So I'm sure that is plenty time.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. Members are, of course, now very familiar with this application, but I think it's important to again outline the context for the proposals and the parking need in Maidenhead it will address as part of the wider parking strategy for the town centre. In view of the application being reconsidered, I will therefore repeat the address made at the December panel meeting in the interest of completeness. The Council is seeking to deliver a sustainable regeneration programme that sees the implementation of new homes, education, leisure and appropriate infrastructure. Part of this infrastructure plan includes the overall provision of new permanent parking. The Council also has a need to provide for additional capacity likely to be created by the introduction of Crossrail, targeted for the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. The proposed multi-storey car park will provide 516 spaces. This permanent car park will support the necessary employment use for both the town centre and commuters. The regeneration of public realm will see the loss of 80 spaces at the station approach. These will need to be provided at Vickers Way. In addition to this, there is also a waiting list of over 425 spaces by local businesses seeking permit parking for their staff in order to support their businesses and economic development. The Council have assumed a modest additional 100 space provision for the arrival of Crossrail, giving a need of over 600 spaces. Although less than this figure to ensure a building of an appropriate design and scale is delivered, the proposals provide much needed parking for commuters and town centre employees, and is suitably located to perform this function. It will also offer shorter-term mitigation for the planned closure and redevelopment of the Broadway car park. Residents' concerns are fully acknowledged and not taken lightly. The application was subject to public consultation prior to submission. Separation distances from neighbouring properties are considered suitable, and as the daylight and sunlight assessment carried out confirms, impacts on neighbours will be limited. Lighting controls are also proposed. A further review of the proposed car park management has been carried out, with the benefit of further comments from the police and in recognition of the concerns raised locally. It is now proposed that the car park will be shut to all vehicles and pedestrians from midnight, in addition to being closed to cars from 8 p.m, whilst CCTV coverage will be as requested by the police across the car park, ensuring security and safety for all users and helping address concerns over potential antisocial behaviour to the satisfaction of the police. Further traffic modelling has been carried out, confirming that highway impacts will not be significant, as has been confirmed by highway officers. A new zebra crossing is also proposed across Vickers Way, providing a safe and continuous pedestrian route from the car park to the station and town centre. For the avoidance of any doubt, I can also confirm, as you've heard this evening, that the scheme has been designed to the Vickers Way Highway Improvement Works, and these will be in place prior to the car park's opening. The relevant policy context is detailed within the committee report, setting out how the proposals will not undermine the Area Action Plan Opportunity Area policy for Staffordton Way, and how that policy recognises the need for a new car park in the area. In summary, therefore, the proposed car park meets a significant parking need and will provide a crucial piece of infrastructure in a deliverable and appropriate location. The concerns of residents are noted and have been fully taken on board through the provision of further highway assessment work, changes to the proposed car park management, and the carrying out of the necessary assessments, ensuring amenity and highway safety are conserved. We therefore hope the members are able to support the proposals and the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for keeping within the time. I also got down Gert Singh. So if you can, you have up to a maximum of the remaining amount of time, which is about 4 minutes.
Good evening, panel. I'm a local resident, a businessman, and I've been an employer in the town since 1998. I understand that this is a sensitive issue. Car parks are not the most attractive development, but investment in our infrastructure is vital. And all I seem to hear from people is there's no parking in Maidenhead. This is an appropriate and sympathetic solution to the problem. This will support the regeneration of the town centre and commuters once Crossrail arrives in Maidenhead, and when it does, we have to be ready. As we have seen all across Maidenhead with the Cox Green Community Centre and the Bolters Lock car park, there is a desperate need to extend facilities. Our town is growing. There are no other available sites. The landing has planning approved and demolition is due to commence next month. St Cloud Way is too far from the station, and the car park on Shopping Angers Road is owned by Network Rail. Due to its proximity to the railway lines and electricity pylons, and also a situation on the steep hill, and access a multi-storey car park would not be possible. For these reasons, I would like to support the application. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singh. Now I can call upon the two ward councillors for Oldfield. I've got it in the order of Councillor Majid first, and then Councillor Hill. Is that still the case? Councillor Majid, you have up to 3 minutes to address the panel as per the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only have 3 minutes, and I don't believe that gives me enough time to go over the grounds and the applications were rejected on by elected members of the planning panel last month. You are all fully aware of them, and I would like to use them again to be rejected, for this application to be rejected. My extra 3 concerns, Mr. Chairman, are firstly, the RBWM portal defines application as constrained by Greenbelt. This is not discussed in the report, and I do not see any special circumstances for this application to be approved. So can you clarify that, please? The second concern is the Human Rights Act, and this is for the legal officer. This was brought into force in 2nd of October 2000, and it is now subject to certain exceptions, and is directly unlawful for public authorities to act in a way which is incompatible with this convention right. In particular, Article 8, respect for private life, and Article 1 of Protocol 1, which is enjoyment of property. Taking into account the balancing exercise between private rights and public interest, we can see that this car park will affect all residents and their families. Mr. Chairman, I would also like to point out the document which was the pre-application officer's report. In there it says, I encourage you to discuss your proposal with all neighbours on the boundary with this site. And there's a long paragraph on there. I would like the officer to actually read all that out, because it wasn't in the report at all. But it asks for consultation with all residents. That is in the pre-app report. Finally, Mr. Chairman, on 2.2 on the additional notices, it says on there, Theresa May's letter, this application is not linked to the Broadway car park and the town centre. I believe this to be an incorrect statement, Mr. Chairman. Can you clarify that? Because the applicant said something different from this as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And equally, you have up to 3 minutes to address the panel when you start speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for calling me to speak. Before I kick off, I'd just like to express my disbelief, disgust and dismay at this wretched fiasco this evening. It shows a complete disregard for public votes when taken, even if recorded on camera, democracy and public opinion. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in this council, and it is, for me, anti-democratic. Underneath it all, I'm a Democrat. I don't believe democracy is being taken seriously here or being executed fairly, and I don't think the lawyers are doing their job either. And I've sacked a lot of lawyers in my time, so I'm angry with you people as well. It's rare to see a community so solidly against something such as this with such vigour and energy, and that needs to be taken into serious account. Representatives from the Loftings are here, the Greenfield, the Fisheries are supporting us, Rushington Area Residents Association and Braywick Action Group. Councillors, this breaches planning policy. It will cause traffic chaos on Staffordton Way and close by roads. It raises the spectre of more antisocial behaviour. We already have it in the Staffordton Way car park. The police have been there. There's light pollution to the flats. There's toxic fumes that might harm this lady's children behind me. The mass and the scale of thing is completely out of character with the area. It's big, it's ugly, it will dominate the area. It's on the wrong side of Staffordton Way, so it breaches our area action plan. It's too close to the dwellings. It's too far from the town centre for office workers. It's too dangerous to cross Stafferton Way for commuters to get to the station at peak times, if you've ever tried crossing that road. And the Access Advisory Forum actually says very publicly it'll be really difficult for disabled people. And there's a complete lack of consultation with the public. If ever there was something that should go down and get refused, this is it. And we simply can't pass it because you need something if you knock the Broadway car park down. That's not good enough. There are other options, and I've discussed them with Barbara Richardson, to actually not build this thing. And the other side of it is, despite what someone said before, there are alternatives. This fails the sequential test. All this parking can be allocated elsewhere, and I have made suggestions. And finally, councils should be where people workshop and play, and frankly this just doesn't fulfil that need. So I don't think it'd be sort of a white elephant or a grey elephant. It's awful. And councillors, this smacks of something that's being rushed through and forced through to make something fit where it doesn't. So, in the spirit of democracy and to support the public, and it's a huge lump of the Oldfield ward, please vote this thing down and throw it out. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, if I can ask our Head of Planning to just respond on to the actual merits of this particular planning application first.
That's not quite, probably, Chairman, what I'm about to do. Forgive me. I'd just like to reiterate to the panel that you are sitting as a local planning authority. I think the legal officer made it clear, the distinction between the planning authority and the council at the outset of the meeting, but what you have heard from people making representations to you blurs the line between the two in asking you to consider actions that are not within your gift because they are for the applicant, the council. So, Chairman, I would like to remind the panel that they should focus on the planning merits of the proposal in front of them, in terms of whether it accords with the development plan and whether there are other material considerations that would indicate they take a different view. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. I'm being advised by legal officer that Councillor Claire Stretton was the first to put up her hand, so Councillor Claire Stretton, then Councillor Richard Kellaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the legal officer. Nothing fundamentally has changed with this application. We have no new, there's a little bit more clarity on the lighting. Other than that, we're looking at exactly the same application that we were looking at a month ago. And therefore, I want to move a motion to refuse on the same reasons that I did last time, and I can read them all out if you'd like. Or you can refer to page 6 of the agenda from the minutes of the last meeting. However, I would also like to add to those reasons for refusal air quality. I'm afraid I do not have a policy number for it. I'm not a trained planning officer, but it is quite clear to me when I look at page 55 of the agenda, where, I'll just get it in front of me, where we are being informed that in the transport assessment results, and the residents have raised with us that some of the baseline data was before the flats were occupied, and therefore the baseline data is not accurate. So I think we need to revisit that anyway. But even that is saying that it's going to increase from 5 cars to 8 cars. There is going to be increased queue length. This is the length of the queues I'm talking about. There's going to be increased queue length, which means standing traffic, which means further issues with pollution. And I don't really feel that we have accurate data in front of us. So I am really concerned about air quality, and I think it's a reason for refusal because we do not have up-to-date evidence to base our decision on. Again, the Access Advisory Forum, made representations about their concern about the disabled being able to cross the roads, and I do not believe that's been properly addressed either. I would like to add that as one of the reasons for refusal, that needs to be properly addressed, and I don't believe it has been. I'm told that we have been asked to, the residents have said that they would like to have further consultation to see if we can't get to a place where something would be acceptable. That's not in our gift on this panel, that's a matter for the council, but clearly the only way to make them do that is to refuse it, so that they have to go and talk to residents to sort it out. That's not a reason for refusal, but it would be a consequence if we did refuse it. So that's what I'm doing, and do you need any more information from me? Can I now leave that as a motion on the table?
Can I just ask for clarity as to... Okay, I need to know the full reasons for refusal.
Okay, I shall read them out for you. They're on page 8 of the agenda, but I will read them again for you. Loss of employment site and further loss would undermine the employment strategy set out in the Borough Local Plan Submission version, contrary to emerging policy ED2. Another site is allocated in policy A06 of the AAP for a car park, and no evidence has been submitted to support the construction of a car park on this site. It is therefore contrary to policy. The bulk, mass and scale is incongruous in the context of nearby dwellings, contrary to local plan policy DG1, AAP policies MTC1 and MTC4, and policies SP1 and SP2 of the Borough Local Plan Submission version, which indicate high quality development compatible with their location and contribute to community integration. The proposal is poor design, contrary to section 12 of the NPPF. The proposal would result in an overbearing impact as a result of height and location